Morning, everyone. We are going to discuss about the continuation of yesterday's. Today, we just want to move to the third method of educational psychology, which is the experimental method. It is, it is developed by the experimental method was established by the German psychologist whose name is William Wundt and is also known as the father of psychology. And he established the first psychological laboratory at Leipzig in Germany. Okay, and the experiment is always an observation under controlled condition. Okay, if any experiment is done under controlled condition, that is what actually an experiment. That is what Chapin says. Festinger says when we are conducting an experiment, there will be a dependent variable and independent variable, where the dependent variable will always show the effect what we need to see. Okay, then it is the characteristics of an experiment. There are three characteristics. One is observation under controlled condition, another one is randomization, then it is replication. Means again it's anything if we are conducting under our controlled condition will be considered as an observation, and also randomly we need to choose people and we need to choose the settings, and also what we are conducting as a study, that we should be able to reproduce or replicate. That is what replication. We should be able to make a copy of the same study again if possible. So these three are the characteristics of an experiment. Then we do have essential features or requirements for psychology. Uh, for conducting a psychological experiment, these are the requirements. That is what it means. One is psychological laboratory, then it is the experimenter, then it is the subject, then it is the stimulus, then response and variable. Laboratory is very much familiar for you. For conducting any controlled experiments, we need a laboratory. Then experimenter stands for the one who experimented or the one who research or one who study. Then subject doesn't mean a subject like English, biology or psychology. A subject mean the one on whom we are going to conduct our study. If you are going to study about me, I will be considered as the subject. If you are going to study one among you, then you will be considered as the subject, like that. Okay, that is what meant by subject in psychology. Then there is a stimulus. As we know that what all we are seeing, what all we are hearing, experiencing, smelling, what all our sense organs can receive, can sense, that all considered as a stimulus. Okay. Then to that stimulus, how do we react, respond? That is what the response. And also we should have some variables, means depending upon that or some settings we will change. For that change, effect will be studied in the subject or under in a person. So that is what all the essential features or requirements of a psychological experiment. Okay, then we do have the variables. The last point was the variables. These variables itself are of different types, mainly three types. We'll say the first one is stimulus variable, or we can call it as independent variable. They themselves are of four types: environmental variable, instructional variable, task variable, and subject variables. Okay, in this environmental variables, what are there, in our ecological, in our environmental condition, is there a change, is there rainy, or it is humidity, there is humidity or temperature, or all can be considered as environmental variables. And not only those things, in our environment there is distraction with so much noise, that also can be considered as an environmental variable. Then it can be instructional variable, like we can give instructions orally or written, or any method of giving instruction can be given, like with the symbols or whatever it is. So that can be also a variable. Then it can be a task variable, means we are asking the person to perform in a specific task, and after that we are giving him another task to study the same behavior. So like that we can study the behavior through different tasks. Then it is subject variable. Not only on a single person we can make the study, we can make the study on different people. That is what subject variables. The second variable is the organismic variable. It's all about our habit strength, or the strength of association between certain stimulus and certain responses based on our previous learning. Means, uh, if we have learned something before, a similar thing if you are learning right now or in the future, it will be easy for us, right? So, like those things, how much association is there between the stimulus that you are going to get exposed to, or the response that you are going to give for that stimulus. And also, is your hunger going to influence you? Okay, not only hunger, thirst, sex, everything can be considered as an organismic variable, means our biological need. Okay, then it's our incentives, like if you are doing a task, are you going to get rewarded or are you going to get punished? Okay, after a task, are you going to get any of this? That also will influence your behavior. Then also inhibition, tending to diminish the momentary readiness for our response, like fatigue, satiation and distraction, fear and caution. All these can cause inhibition. Then individual differences due to our age, sex, intelligence, interest, aptitude, health, and organic state. Like, one task is done by young people, or done by old age people, or done by children. All will be different. And also, as same task done by male or female also will be different, right? So those who are having variations in their intelligence, if they do also, it will be are different, and the interest according to that also it will vary. Okay, so like that, these all are what considered as the organismic variables. Now we do have the third variable, the response variable, and or we can call it as a dependent variable. The first one is accuracy, means measure how is there any error or not, or the result is accurate or not. The second response variable is speed or quickness of our response. How to measure the speed or quickness? Through time limit or amount limit, means within how much time we should complete the task, or how long does it take to an assigned amount of task. So like that. Okay, then it is probability or frequency, how often are we going to do it. Then strength or energy response, like when we do any task, how energetic are we and how strong we are. Then response latency, are we responding on time or is it a delayed response? Okay, all are considered as response variables. So we have seen in total there are stimulus response, or we can call it as independent variable. Then we have seen organismic variable, and now we have seen the response variable or dependent variable. Okay, let us see the characteristics of an experimental method. There are five characteristics. First one, it enable the study behavior under controlled condition. Also, it is very scientific in nature. The experimental method can be repeated without any difficulty. That is there. Okay, with no difficulty we can repeat it. And the method, through the method, what result or the conclusion we have reached, that should be that are reliable, in fact. Then randomization as well. So these five are the characteristics of experimental method. Now we have the steps of experimental method. The means first we will state a problem or what we have to study. So that is the first step of experimental method. Then it is formulation of hypothesis. Once we have studied a problem, we'll have an idea or a hypothesis. That is what that we need to formulate a second step. Then we have to design. We have seen a lot of variables, so we have to design those variables, independent variable and dependent variable. Then we have to make the setup for the controlled experiment, means controlling the conditions of the experiment. Then we should design experiment. Okay, selection of experimental design. Then means how are we going to do the study. Okay. Then after conducting the study, we'll have so many recordings with us. Those recordings, recorded data we have to analyze. So analysis of the result is the sixth step. Then we should go for the verification and the confirmation of the hypothesis. As a second step, we had made an hypothesis, so that we need to verify and confirm with the result of the experiment. So these all are the steps of experimental method. That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening to me, and to ensure your attendance of today's lesson, kindly write the notes and post in CP discussion group. Okay, take care. Bye bye. Let's continue in next week.